Your Excellency, Zayed bin Rashid Zayani, thank you very much indeed for joining us. You're here today leading the biggest trade delegation to Israel from Bahrain since the signing of the Abraham Accords. Is that moving us one step closer to getting that free trade agreement signed and finalised?
First of all, I'm very delighted to be here back in Israel. This is my third trip. And like you said, this is the first trip. What's unique about it is this is the first trip that I come with a business delegation. It was designed in that way. The first trip we came here to establish the accords, to talk on a government level. Today we're at a point where we think there has been very much achieved on the government-to-government side, and it's time that we introduce the private sector to each other at close distance in a formalized way, so that they take over the initiatives of the Abraham Accords. For us, it's very important that we achieve the maximum out of the Abraham Accords, so creating prosperity. And prosperity comes from investments, from trade, and from the private sector, not necessarily from government to government. And we're very optimistic that with the free trade agreement being concluded by the end of the year, it will even facilitate for more trade and more investment opportunities between members of the private sector on both countries.
You hope it will be signed by the end of this year. Will that help boost trade? Because it is quite modest at the moment compared to trade between Israel and the UAE.
Yes, it is. It is very modest. It's not what we aspire to. The silver lining is that it has grown 5 times between 22 and 21. So there is positive signs. And that's one of the reasons why we have a private a delegation from the private sector here today, because they are the driving force behind trade. The UAE maybe has done that before us, and they've visited here more often and much more, and that's normal that we see the numbers bigger there. It's also relevant because our economy is not as big as the UAE. So therefore the opportunities wouldn't be as big, but we see the trade levels today as being the tip of the iceberg, and the opportunities being much bigger in the future. And we're not just focusing on trade, because trade is the very lowest step in a business relationship. We would like to see more investments and joint ventures, and that is really the ultimate goal, to have something sustainable and long-term. Trade increases, decreases year to year, but investment is more solid. It creates job, it creates export value, and creates transfer of technology as well.
An example of what you've just spoken about, these long-term projects, is the recent agreement on agriculture and bringing food security that was signed in Eilat earlier this month. Jordan and Morocco also sent delegations. Do you hope that that's an example of cooperation and how it can bring food security to the region?
Israel has a strong track record in the field of food security and agriculture, whether it is land or sea. And Bahrain today imports the majority of its food, so we would like to create more of a local capacity and local food products that are consumed or grown in Bahrain. So Israel is the perfect partner for this, and this is why we are looking to explore the options with Israel moving forward in this field.
I recently spoke to the Israeli ambassador in Bahrain, and he told me he really hoped to get more visitors coming to Bahrain from Israel and vice versa. What do you think is holding tourism back at the moment?
Today we have a dedicated Minister of Tourism. She is just handling the tourism portfolio. One of the reasons why we came on my second visit is to participate in the tourism show here in Tel Aviv. We had a stand to represent Bahrain, and we've seen positive impact out of that, a growth in the number of tourists. I'm also the chairman of Gulf Air, our national carrier. We started with 2 frequencies a week. We're up to 3 now, and we're looking to build that up towards a daily service to Bahrain, which we think will facilitate a lot of the convenience and travel between the 2 countries. We are yet to see reciprocal tourism from Bahrain to Israel, and we haven't honestly seen any initiatives of Israeli tourism promotion in Bahrain, so maybe that could help as well. the flow being two-sided instead of more one-sided. But on the general number of Israelis coming to Bahrain, we've seen a good increase. We would like to see more, of course, but it's.
Do you have any theories as to why Bahrainis are holding off coming to Israel?
It's not a matter of holding off. I think one is that we haven't seen any Israeli promotion in Bahrain. Two is that it's new. They are, used to going to certain places. So, as a newcomer, new market will take time to get, considered. What I can tell you, though, that all those who've come here have come back with positive experiences and impressions, and that will definitely help.
A word on defence, because that is another area where Israel and Bahrain cooperate strongly. We just had a few days ago Israeli paratroopers taking part in an event over Bahrain. That was very exciting. Would you say that defence is at the heart of this relationship, and is that having an impact on the region?
Bahrain has always been a friendly nation, an open nation. We are, despite being a small nation, we play on the global scene in terms of promoting peace, tolerance. We've been an island open to all ethnicities, races, and you look at the communities in Bahrain, they're made up of many countries. We're very delighted to welcome His Holiness the Pope next week in Bahrain. So this again is a testament to the tolerance and openness of Bahrain. If it is Israel or any other friendly nation that works to the security of the region and the greater Middle East, I'm sure you'll find Bahrain to be a competent and equivalent partner in that field.
As you may have noticed, Israel is holding elections in a couple of days' time. Just last week, the UAE's foreign minister issued a warning. He said that an extreme right government in Israel could actually undermine ties with the UAE. Is that something you're concerned about in Bahrain?
We've come a long way to get where we are today. And it took us 70 plus years. But in the last 2 or 3 years since signing the Abraham Accords, we've also come a long way in achieving positive growth in our relationships. And it would be really unfortunate for anybody who came in to reverse the cycle, because it's taken us so long to get to where we are today. You also have to keep in mind that the rest of the Arab world is watching, and they're looking to see whether us, UAE, Morocco, have really progressed with this, because who's going to be next? The aim is not really to stop at 3 countries, plus of course Jordan and Egypt, who's been there before us. So I think whatever government comes to Israel, I think they should be mindful enough not to shake the composition of the Abraham Accords, because a lot is riding on it for the region, not just for Israel and Bahrain or the UAE. And I think the general perception, even for me, with the very little interaction I had with people in Israel, outside of my official duties, I had a couple of chances on my previous visits to go just out on the street, and you meet people, you talk to them, and they don't know me as an official of the government of Bahrain. But when I say I'm from Bahrain, generally they're all welcoming, and they're excited about this new chapter in our relations. And I think the momentum is positive, and it's on our side. We should keep it going and grow it.
So when you hear statements from someone like Itamar Ben-Gvir, the far-right political leader who could make it into power next week, are you worried about that? Do you think that's worrying for Israel's future?
Yeah, I mean, we'd rather not hear such statements. But I think we have to look at this as a long-term project, and we have to look at the bigger picture. In every nation, you'll have people who are for and against any political direction. But I think we have to look at the bigger picture, and we have to take the positives and put them out there to show the rest of the world that our venture was successful.